Hey everybody, Skojo Insta360. So you're interested in the footage and the photos of the Insta360 One X? Well, that's a good call because, well, spoiler alert, it's pretty darn good. There's some things you might want to keep in mind, but let's get you up to date. Now, what you're about to see is a chapter from a larger video. So if you like what you see, check the link in the description below, and that will get you to the longer video where I cover things like the app, the accessories, all that fun stuff. But for now, let's take a look at the footage of the Insta360 One X. Catch you on the other side. And of course, the creme de la creme on this camera, in my opinion, is the footage. I mean, it just shoots beautiful stuff. It's shooting currently at 5.7K. It looks great. Really have no complaints with that. Been having a grand old time, really, with the other frame rates. Like the 4K 50 frames per second is gorgeous. It's very smooth. The resolution isn't too degraded, so I'm quite happy with that. I thought I wouldn't like the 3K 100 frames per second because the resolution would be so downgraded. But I took it out the other day and it looks fantastic. So I'm really a big fan of the footage. There's that bullet mode that's a little bit sticky, but it's still cool. So I keep using it even months into the process. There's just a fun place to go out and get some of that bullet mode captured. I've done a little bit with the time-lapse mode, but of course I'm somebody who's always on the go, so I've been shooting a lot of time-lapses when I'm moving, and that's not such a good thing because now the stabilization works great in this camera, but it doesn't work when you're taking photos, so it looks a little weird when you're trying to do a time-lapse and you're, climbing up a hill on your skis. What I like to use is what they call a hyperlapse, which is basically just speeding up the footage, and it looks fantastic. It's a great effect. I use it on a lot of my professional projects. Apparently they just released an HDR mode, which I've accidentally run into. Apparently I accidentally put it in HDR mode, and I don't know what happened, but it ruined the shots that I had. It cut it in half somehow. I have no explanation really for it. It just kind of screwed up my video. But for photos and stuff like that, it's great. I just personally won't really use it because I take it into post-production. I take it in the edit bay and add my own color, so I don't need the HDR, but from what I would gather, the HDR is going to work just fine for this camera. Overall, it's the footage really that makes me keep this camera. It's just beautiful. There's so many things you can do with it. I give the footage for the Insta360 One X an absolute A+. Now photos, I don't know that I'm that qualified to make a whole lot of comment about. I use the photos on this camera, more for my social stuff, not for professional stuff. And they're great. I believe they're 18 megapixels, look good. I love using them for social because you can either create like little tiny planet photos, or I just posted a picture of me right next to Mount Bachelor that was posted on Facebook in a full 360 mode, and it was one of the most popular posts I put up. So everything that I know about the camera, I'm impressed with. The HDR I have not tried, but most of the time when you have HDR in a camera, it's worth doing, so I would definitely give photos an A. Oh, and I should probably mention that when you're going to take photos and video, really, you're going to need a selfie stick with this camera. It looks really weird in 360 when you're holding the camera with your hand, so make sure you have a selfie stick for both photos and video. Yeah, it's really one of the reasons you should have this camera because it makes great footage. Despite some of its problems, it just shoots gorgeous stuff. Well, that's it for now. Again, if you liked what you saw, there is a link in the description below that will give you a link to the larger video. And also, please, please, please subscribe to my channel. A lot of people have been lately. I've been kind of pleasantly surprised. And don't forget to hit that little bell and it will get you an alert every time I put out fresh new content. That's it. I am Skojo Insta360. Catch you the next time around the sun.